The first mock we're going to take a look at today is a Bantha mock by James Shields. He alleges that this is a work in progress, however I feel it looks good enough for me to include in the series. If he does make some substantial updates to it, I'll definitely show you guys in upcoming episodes, but this is really the first brick-built Bantha mock that I've looked at and I've said, okay, that's really good. I want that in my collection, and I want to build a few of those for a potential Tatooine mock down the line. I think his use of the curved slopes is what really got me. A lot of people will do like a brick-built Bantha, and there's just so many exposed studs on the sides, and it would just look so jarring next to some of the other like dedicated molds that we got in, for example, the dewback, because of all the studs. However, I feel due to the nature and just the shagginess of a Bantha, it's very appropriate to have these curved slopes, and this actually wouldn't look out of place next to a dewback, specifically the dewback mold that LEGO has come out with most recently. And I think it's just a really nice and solid design overall. Like I said, those curved slopes are really what got me. There's a good mixture of color in there as well, with the browns and the dark browns and even a little bit of tan. I think the horn builds are actually pretty cool, using those sheath slopes to kind of line them, and of course those hinge bricks to simulate the curve in those. If you look further towards the back, you can actually see he included the rather long tail of the Bantha, which I think is actually really nice. You can see there's some like hinge, not even hinge joints, but ball joints with plates attached to them, and I don't know, it just looks really good to me. Like I said, this is really one of the first Bantha builds I've seen where, I mean, I would just love to have one of these in my collection. Like this, I could see LEGO making one of these and putting them in a set if they decided, you know, they just didn't want to give us a Bantha mold long term. But I mean, this is something that I think a lot of people can benefit from. Like if he put the instructions out for this, I would definitely relay them to you guys. It's like I said, we're in desperate need of some sort of representation of a Bantha in LEGO. I know the rumors are saying that we're supposed to get it in a microfighter pack later this year, but I mean, that's not really gonna fulfill the need, right? Because I mean, it's definitely not gonna be minifig scale if it's a microfighter. And I don't know, it'd just be nice to get a dedicated Bantha from LEGO. But in the meantime, we have amazing creators like this making these Bantha mocks, and I really do hope that he puts out the instructions to it. Unfortunately, you can't tell from this picture, but I would also hope that maybe there's even a little bit of like head articulation. Like maybe if you could build the head on like a ball joint just to have it be a little bit articulated from the rest of the body, I think that that would be pretty sweet as well. But all in all, I really love this mock. This is definitely one that I would love in my collection down the line if he decides to put out the instructions to it. So wonderful job here, James. Next up, we're going to take a look at a Pillio mock from Arkum ELO. If you guys aren't familiar what Pillio is a planet you visit in the campaign of Star Wars Battlefront 2, and it is just a beautiful and lush planet. Like there is just so many varying colors of vegetation, and I think that Arkum just does a great job representing that here. I think that like those violet color pieces, especially even like I guess like the berry pieces kind of thrown in there as well, look really nice. There's like all sorts of just, you know, like wacky plant colors in here, like the red bamboo pieces. He even using like the ice cream cone pieces. Like there's just so many interesting uses of parts in this mock that I think make it look really nice and just appealing to the eye. I think my favorite part of this mock easily has to be those like trans orange rock pieces that are covered by the light bluish gray actual like rock work around it. It's supposed to be these like egg sacs or something that these giant bugs kind of hatch out of, and it just looks so good. Like if you guys have played Battlefront 2, you know exactly what that is and just how accurate it looks. So wonderful job there. That's probably the biggest reason I decided to include this mock in this week's showcase, because that just really popped out to me, and it just made me smile at how clever of a parts usage that was. But you also have a little bit of a water stream at the very bottom of it, and then over to the right side you have some more like natural looking plant builds over there. And I mean, for something that's really a small vignette, this might be one of the smallest vignettes I've featured on the mock showcase so far. It is just so eye-catching. It's so appealing to the eye. A few people have asked me if I would want to do a Pillio mock, and I've kind of been like, like, I don't know, like, it's a very nice looking planet, it'd be cool, but I don't know if it stuck out to me enough to want to actually build something of a significant scale with it. But I think seeing this here really just changes that dynamic. Like, it would just be so fun to use all of these wild plant colors and interesting building techniques to recreate the very unique looking planet of Pillio. So when you've inspired me to maybe want to build something that I probably wouldn't have built before, I feel like that says a lot about how good your MOC is. So wonderful job there. One of the things I'd also be remiss if I didn't mention is the use of like the 1x1 tiles actually kind of sitting in reverse. It looks cool. It makes me kind of anxious because, you know, as a MOC builder, I'm like, it's probably an accident waiting to happen, right, with those just falling. But it's a cool usage of parts. It's something you don't see too often. So all in all, this is such an eye-catching MOC, and I'm gonna have to look into doing something Pilio related for sure. Next up, we're going to take a look at an ACBT MOC by Simon Wild. This first appeared in Solo: A Star Wars Story, and I've seen a few MOCs of it, but I think this is one of the better ones I've seen, so I definitely want to get one of these on the MOC showcase. First thing I really like about this MOC is just the smoothness of it. Like, there's some nice snot techniques used in it, not too many studs exposed. That's always a plus when it comes to me. I also think that the usage of those like raised speeder parts at the very bottom, the ones with the stickers on them, are actually really cool. Like, seeing these here actually kind of make me feel like I would want to use those on other MOCs as well. Like, that's a good stickered piece to kind of represent some weathering. So very clever use of that part right there. I think that the cannon on this ship actually looks really nice as well. One of the things that stuck out is that piece. It's at the very end of the largest cannon. It's basically the piece that kind of goes into like the new giant Gatling gun cannon pieces that Lego made that shoots at like 8 studs, I think, or maybe 6 studs. Maybe, yeah, it shoots at like 6 studs once you spin it. But this is like the inner part of it, and looking at it now, I realize that's actually a really good piece for cannon details, so that'll definitely be something that I consider when building MOCs down the line. One other thing I can appreciate about this MOC is there aren't any obvious like hinged pieces on the legs. I'm not sure the extent of the articulation on this thing. I would imagine that it can probably bend where the joints are, but it's not obvious. You know, he didn't have to use any of Lego's like big ugly hinge pieces to accomplish having the legs positioned the way they are. So that, I feel like that actually kind of goes a long way. It just makes it look more like a realistic and clean looking model, in my opinion. This is kind of off topic, but I'm honestly shocked he's using this 4-length dark bluish gray bar right here. If you guys don't know, that is a super expensive piece. I think it's like $6 or $7 in Lego, so that's very brave for him to use that. I think I may have like 1 or 2 of those in my collection, and I still like am hesitant to include it in a MOC because I'm like, if I want to use that expensive of a part, I'm going to put it in something that's like super important, right? So I don't know, maybe this was his super important MOC, but like I said, very nice looking walker. I'd really like to see someone do like a custom AT hauler with one of these bad boys connected beneath it. I think someone really just needs to go all out and do a rather large scale Mimbon MOC and have maybe like an AT hauler carrying one of these guys somewhere on the battlefield. I think that would actually look pretty sweet. This next MOC is by a builder by the name of Ordo on Flickr. I believe it's part of some build series he's actually doing. Not build series as you would find like here on my channel where I'm kind of weekly working on one MOC, but rather he's been building multiple MOCs that are kind of all together creating a cohesive story. So this MOC is included with an actual like, I guess, synopsis of what's kind of going on in this scene. You can check that out from the link in the description if you'd like to. I would really just like to hone in on some of the build details that are going on in this MOC. So this picture makes it a little bit difficult to see them. There's another picture I'm going to show you where I'll really get into the details, but I just think it's a really nice looking picture. Like this could really suffice for like the photography portion of the videos that I usually do here, but I really did just want to show you guys kind of like a pulled back view of what's going on here. And I think like one of the first things that'll catch your eye are the yellow accents on the wall details, as well as kind of like the caution tape pattern with the cheese slopes at the bottom left and right corners of this thing. I think that just looks so freaking cool. Like, what a great use of cheese slopes. I don't think I've seen that used that way before. Like, it makes sense. Like, I've seen cheese slopes kind of used with snot, but I don't know if I've seen them specifically to make like the caution pattern. So that actually looks really freaking cool. I like that a lot about this MOC. If we move on to the next photo, we can get a much better look at some of the details on this MOC. And I think that the wall and the door details, what I really want to highlight for this. I always mention on this series how it's really easy to take building like a wall for granted, especially in Star Wars, because you want it to be detailed. So you want to come up with some nice looking pattern for it, but you don't want it to, be a little too wild and out there or unbelievably detailed. So there's a healthy balance you have to find, and I think that these walls look so freaking cool. So obviously this is not your traditional looking wall, right? This is obviously in some sort of vault. There's some sort of mechanical function of whatever the heck's going on in this room, but it just looks so good. Like I said, the yellow accents I feel really just make this eye-popping, but there's also just some creative parts usages here. Like I love these little pump type things with the yellow Technic rings around them and those like pneumatic T-pieces that are holding them together. I'm sure the numbers above them are significant in some way. I don't know. Kind of looks like something out of a video game if I'm being quite honest, but the fact that the bottom section is kind of slanted also looks pretty sweet. I feel like we get a better look at that pattern at the edges of the floor. Like I said, the caution tape pattern, yellow and black with the cheese slopes. I just love that so much. It looks so cool. I also really like that section of the wall on the right side using the wheel piece, and it's between the wall elements, and there's like the two yellow taps above it. That just looks really nice. And then of course there's the giant door over to the left side. I feel like that's just a very Star Warsy vault looking door. I think the train wheel in the middle of it is just a pretty great usage of parts. I think the train wheel in the middle is just a great usage of parts, and then the rest of the door just looks fantastic to me. This is just a really aesthetically pleasing MOC. There's so many nice small little details in it that you can hone in on, and it just looks so good. So if any of you guys are planning on doing a MOC like this, or just looking for some general inspiration on walls and doors, here you go. Doesn't really get much better than this. And the final MOC we're going to take a look at today is Coruscant under Imperial Patrol by builder Dayton Lovelock. And holy crap, is this thing really cool. I really love featuring these types of MOCs here on this channel, the more like urban Star Wars environments. I feel like these are some of my favorite locations that we visit in Star Wars, and Coruscant is easily one of my favorite planets. So let's just first dive into this MOC. So obviously this is Coruscant, but it's under Imperial control, and I think Dayton's actually doing a series on his Flickr where he shows various Star Wars locations, but what they might look like under the control of the Empire. So there's some just really cool, neat, unique stuff to see in these MOCs. So let's kind of go level by level. If we look first at the bottom left hand corner, there's for one a really good looking door design. I think the use of those circular 4x4 quarter circle tiles is just great there. Like it's a nice looking door. And then of course another use of the flick fire missile pieces. I'm seeing that so often on this build series that I'm wondering why I haven't been using it up to this point. But once again, if you guys are just looking for inspiration on building something as simple as a door but making it look nicely detailed and unique, here is, I think, just a great looking representation of that. Over to the right side of that, we have some sort of stand with a Rodian selling something. It's kind of hard to see what's in his little buckets down there, but I don't know, it's a cool looking shop. I think that the use of those like 1x1 lamp holder pieces also to the left of him with that pipe going down it also looks pretty cool. It doesn't look like it's really anything specific, but it looks like it belongs on Coruscant, so I'm definitely feeling it. I also just noticed there's a nice like trash can build right next to the stand, so I think it actually looks pretty good as well. If we go over to the far right side, we got like a curbside bar that actually looks pretty sweet. Of course, got an Ithorian serving up some drinks to some passerbyers, and then we have an Ithorian serving some drinks to some citizens of Coruscant, and it just looks so cool. Like one of the I feel like the themes you'll notice with this MOC is just how active and lively and lived in it feels. I think that's really the main draw to this MOC. There's just so much going on, and you can really envision yourself shrinking down to minifig size and kind of walking around and observing exactly what's going on here. Front and center, we actually have a nice looking speeder build. I don't want to dive too deeply on that, but it's a good looking speeder build. What more can I say? I appreciate the fact that there's like an alley that goes off towards the middle of the MOC that you can't really see. I love it when builders do that because I feel like it just opens the MOC up, right? It kind of implicitly makes your mind wander and think like, oh, like what could be back there? And it just makes the MOC a little bit more interesting. So if we go up to the second level over to the left side, we just have some windows and there's like panel pieces and just all types of interesting uses of parts here. I think that's one of the nicest thing about this MOC, really all the way through it. There's just nice details through it. I also do appreciate the use of those stickers below those windows. I do believe those are the stickers that are actually on top of like the Millennium Falcon, the Force Awakens one specifically. They're like on the like hallway section on those like curved tiles on top of it, but it looks really good here. I think I've actually used those parts on my on one of my Rebel transport speeders. Those are just some nice generic looking stickers right there to add a lot of detail to a MOC. We move over to the right side on the second level. We got some lights. It's always cool to see lights in MOCs. They make things more interesting. Humans like shiny things. What's new? And I like those, how he uses the triangular kind of like sign pieces as well as tiles between them to create a nice shape pattern. Nothing too like ridiculous, but still looks good nonetheless. We go up to the third level, we get a little glimpse of some Coruscant style posters or like billboards or signs or whatever they might be. And of course there's Twi'leks on them because why would there not be? I would imagine there are tons of Twi'lek posters on Coruscant and in various locations across Coruscant. If we go over to the right side, we get an even bigger Twi'lek poster. I do kind of feel like this is a missed opportunity to actually have like a Lego Twi'lek sitting there. Obviously you couldn't make this picture, but you could do something close to it. I think that would have been kind of funny. I'm honestly not sure if I should be showing this on my channel. Hopefully this video won't get demonetized, but the MOC is so good that it's definitely worth showing off all the facets of it. I also like that he kind of uses like the billboard frame as like those macaroni pieces slash the Technic connector pieces. I think that looks really good. And like the photo editing of just adding in those like Twi'lek posters and billboards, I think adds a lot to this MOC. And yeah, that's really gonna finish it up. Like, this is just so freaking cool to me. Coruscant is one of my favorite locations in Star Wars. I've often told myself, you know, if I did a Coruscant, I don't know how I would do it, but when I see MOCs like these, it becomes a lot more apparent that, you know, you just gotta do it. Like, I'm sure you'll spend tons of time trying to add individual details onto, you know, various buildings, but if you can get something that looks as nice as this, I think it's totally worth it in the long run. So Dayton, you did an absolutely wonderful job on this MOC. I'm so happy I found it because it makes me happy to see it. And that's going to finish up the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed checking out these MOCs as much as I enjoyed showing them to you. All I ask that you go ahead and support these builders by giving them some attention. I've included the links in the description. They certainly deserve all the support from you guys for making these incredible builds. Also, if you like what I do, go ahead and support the video by hitting the like button, support the channel by smashing that subscribe button, and I'll be back again very soon.